Welcome to SML Total Access, where we break down news, predictions, and more in our Madden League. Now, let's get fired up for SML football.
Welcome to SML Total Access. I am Primetime 000, joined as always by Matt and Dan. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, we're back.
We're back. Prime, man. What is going on? You sound like a different person. Are we sure this is prime time? Double zero?
We're back in black. I was trying to see if I sound like the AC/DC guy, and I didn't. But anyway, moving on. First down. Hey, we were trying to do this last week, and we just had some scheduling conflicts or whatever. So this topic is going to be maybe a little outdated, but then we got some really good topics actually coming up. So first down, season 1 in the books. Colts win the championship. Straw Blacks makes the Super Bowl. A lot of big stuff happened. That was pretty interesting. Matt, what do you think about season 1 in general?
Yeah, season 1, it's kind of always a crapshoot, right? Everyone's got a stock team. Everyone's trying to figure out the game. But I think it went kind of status quo. I mean, when you look at it, if you were to tell me the AFC, I'm going to include kind of Faz when we drafted teams, you looked at Dan, Faz, and QP, right? The big four. The AFC was just the juggernaut. Well, then come Faz leaves, but at the end of the day, it's you versus Dan. And I think we all expected that, or you versus Q. And on the NFC side, it's kind of anyone's game. But again, I think Straw, Dom, Bomber, they're going to be the guys that are going to be around. And that's the way it was. I think Straw getting to the Super Bowl with the stock Rams is really good. But as I'll talk about later, potentially, defensive tackle is really, really important this year, and Aaron Donald's the best one in the game. So, I told everybody Prime was winning the Super Bowl season 1, and I was right. So I guess I'll pat myself on the back a little bit.
Wow, that was awesome. That was a really good prediction, actually.
Yeah,
Dan,
shocker, real shocker.
what are you thinking, buddy?
Yeah, well, hey, season 1. I mean, it kind of like what Matt says. Things kind of go as we're figuring out the game, and obviously Matt mentioned D tackles. We know fast, evasive running backs are pretty good, and so it was set up nice for Prime to win, but he had to overcome some tough games. So credit to Klink. Let's not forget that. Matt forgot to mention him. He really had Prime there on the ropes and should have probably won if he would have iced him. And then Straw fighting hard in the Super Bowl. So those were two really good games. I think the AFC is kind of going to be what it is. It's going to be a kind of a juggernaut. I'm not sure if anyone will sneak in outside of those now big three there, but maybe, Klink, Dump, those guys got some good teams. They can ball too. NFC is just going to be fun. I think the whole cycle. I think we're going to see ups and downs. I think you're going to see runs from Bomber and Matt and Dom and Straw and maybe some others that'll sneak in there. We'll talk about a second or two. But hey, season 1, it's kind of what SML is all about. It's some fun narratives. It's some tight games. It's some luck. It's some good users. And we had a good run. So it was a great season to kick off the cycle.
Yeah, it was. And obviously, for me personally, I don't usually do super hot at the beginning. I think Dan hit it on it a few weeks ago. So to win season 1 was a nice relief a little bit. And it gets me excited to maybe make another run in the future here.
Probably not.
We'll see. Two shockers for me. Maybe not shockers, but one I'll go with first is Bomber was totally back, and he had a big throw against Doink when he had to get like a 4th and 10, and it was like a corner route, and he hit it on the money. Last cycle, that wasn't happening. Bomber was going to, whether it was his team or whether he personally was going to fold, it just was not working for him. Fast forward to this cycle, and he made that throw against Doink, wins the game. Bomber was back, in my opinion, that play. Obviously, the fumble happens against Doink in a drive or against Dom in a drive that he really was looking like he was going to score on. And then the second thing I noticed was QP didn't quite have the spark that we were thinking he was going to have. I thought he's a lock for the AFC Championship game. Maybe we'll talk about this on second down when we get to user ability and team skills. But Q just doesn't. Q is what Bomber was last year right now, which is he's not scaring anybody. Bomber didn't scare anybody last year. Right now, Q's not scaring anybody. Q went into Pittsburgh and looked terrible in the playoffs, and maybe hats off to Dan for a good playoff performance there. But that was a big shock for me in season 1 was really the lack of fear that the Chargers put into anybody.
Yeah,
Moving.
I
Oh,
want
go
to
ahead.
correct Dan real quick because he called me out. If you think Prime was missing an iced kick in the in the playoffs, I got some oceanfront property in Phoenix for you, Dan.
Oh,
DM
come
me
on,
just after
man.
the show. No,
Come on, Matt. Prime himself will admit he stinks at ice kicks. It was a 60-yard ice kick. He will admit it right now because Prime is an honest man. He was not going to make that kick. Go ahead, Prime.
Hey, Kobe Bryant, not the best 3-point shooter, but when it counts, I'm taking Kobe over just about anybody else, baby. Let's go. I was gonna nail
that's
that
right.
thing.
You're not taking Kobe over Curry. Come on, man. You're
Hey,
crazy of a
hey,
3-point
hey.
shot. You're not
Life
you're
on the
not making that
line.
60
Life
yarder.
on the line. 3-point shot. I'm taking Kobe Bryant, baby. Let's go.
Whatever.
And I'm taking me. Hey, meets in a regular season week 15 game. 60-yard ice kick. Meets for me. Who you taking? Meets. 60-yard field goal iced. AFC Championship game. Who you taking, Dan? Me or meets?
Oh, well, that's a no-brainer. That's like, choosing me over Kobe Bryant in a one-on-one match. Of course you're taking Kobe over in that moment.
Wow,
I'm
just
just
saying.
saying you ain't hitting that field goal. You're not hitting that field goal. No way.
Hey, you know who really choked? Who was the full injury? That was a bad. That was a bad thing by Clinky for not even getting the ice off. That's the real.
It
That's the
was.
real discussion. Which leads
Well,
us.
the
Oh, go on.
the defense right before it and the ice kick was a rough moment for
That was a
Clink.
rough moment for Clink. Moving on to second down, which maybe ties into that. And we've kind of talked about during the playoffs a little bit. Strong team versus user ability. This often kind of gets brought up in cycles, but especially in season one, when there's just certain teams were just built better. What do you guys think about this kind of narrative or story that, yeah, strong teams do matter more? What are you guys thinking, Dan?
Well, it does and it doesn't. So you look around the league, especially with the way the breakouts are going, the way season one went, specifically with like Biz and the Niners having a great team, but then not being around and getting two top five picks. Dumps and having the Bengals and getting all these breakouts. Those teams can definitely carry people. I mean, they can literally carry you through uh, certain games. You get a team like the Eagles that you just cannot run up the middle. Matt mentioned Aaron Donald. Like certain things about teams completely can change the game. Now, I will say, and what history has shown out is kind of the guys that are almost at the elite level. They can figure that out, or it might be one game, but those super teams can't win 2 or 3 games when it counts. So I still think user is definitely the part that separates the good from the bad. But I think you're going to see some of these guys who maybe were middle of the road or just kind of out on the fringes. They can start making huge pushes. You look at a team like Clink, who's got a great running back and a great quarterback. Is that going to set him apart in some of these big games? I mean, that kind of stuff is going to matter. So you can't ignore it. But I'm still taking the user over the super team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think team. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just Madden 24, but it feels like the team matters more. And I maybe this year maybe I could be wrong there, but especially at the quarterback spot. I mean, you watch these games. I mean, you guys don't have good quarterbacks, and you just know how it feels, right? They just miss throws that can cost you the game. There's nothing you can do about it. Meanwhile, the Burrows and the Mahomes and the Herberts are just slinging dots all over the field. But at the end of the day, I'm with Dan. I think having a good team kind of makes the average to slightly above average player a little more relevant. But at the end of the day, as we saw in the playoffs, same old faces, right? The Eagles didn't make the Super Bowl. The Cowboys didn't make the Super Bowl. Those are the Niners didn't make the Super Bowl. It was the freaking Rams or the Saints, and then in the NFC or in the AFC, it was the Steelers and the Colts. I mean, none of those 4 teams are super teams, or really, honestly, even good teams. So I think it makes average players relevant, but at the end of the day, you elite guys, you're going to find a way to win. And when the pressure gets on you, I don't care what team you have. It SML playoffs, it's a different beast, right? Commentated games, 15 to 20 viewers, man. You know they're there, and it changes things.
Yeah, it does. And to me, I think user is always king probably, but in playoffs the skill gap is closer. It's a little bit tighter. And a guy like, for example, last cycle, Clinky had the Texans and I'm not sure if he made the playoffs with the Texans. I'm not sure. Fast forward to this cycle and all of a sudden he's 1 or 2 plays away from making the AFC Championship game. Um, but one thing I noticed is what makes the Chiefs great was Patrick Mahomes and his ability to throw off platform on the run, make those 360 no scope passes. And I think Mahomes had like literally 10 or 11 passes in the AFC divisional round, and 4 of them were on the first drive. So despite that, at the end of the day, it's kind of who's controlling that player. Now, if it's a close game, 27-27, your quarterback, Kenny Pickett, comes back and throws one in the dirt, and then you have to punt it back, and then Mahomes makes a 360 no scope that you can't even try. Then it's like, oh, okay, like this is a skill gap. But games are so tight. There's so many plays in a game that more often than not, you can overcome that. But sometimes you just have to play with even less mistakes and even more smart if you do have that team disadvantage in the playoffs. It does matter. I don't care what people say. It does matter. You just have to play better. And the guys who know that tighten up a little bit more, and they play a little bit better more often than not. Third down, I need to admit something. And, Dan says I'm an honest guy, and I do admit things like I did earlier. I don't know how to say this, but I will. I was wrong about something. It's not. This does not happen very often. I'm actually very right more often than not. But AJ, I crowned him the next big thing, and I was wrong. AJ is not the next big thing. And here's where my miscalculation went. He has the potential to be the next big thing. He's calm. He's cool. He's collected. He's got raw stick skills. He can compete in a lot of games. But like me and like very select others, he does not practice the game. He's married. He's got a family. He doesn't study tape. He's admitted to this to me in DMs. So while some guys can still take that and win the big games, I don't think AJ can. I think that's going to limit him against these other guys who do all those things. So therefore, AJ is not the next big thing. And my question to you guys is, how do you feel about my new proclamation? And if he's not, then who is?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna go one in the AFC and one in the NFC. I'm gonna go in the AFC. I think I'm gonna go Bean. I think you talk about studying. He's kind of the epitome of studying, right? 600, 800 hours in the game. He's undefeated right now. He has his favorite team. I think Bean will figure it out. He could be the next big thing in the AFC. But you know what? I'm going to kind of go with a shocker here, and this probably will end up backfiring if someone clips this in about 3 months. But I'm going to go. The next big thing is the last old thing, and that's my man Woods.
Whoa.
I
Wow.
watch Woods' games, and I've played against Woods, and Dan brought up something too. You can't run against him. So if he can figure out the slightest bit of pass defense, which he hasn't yet, and if he can just control the ball, that team, he just beat Straw. His losses are close. He's 3-3. That's a winnable division. It's not a good division. He can win this division. He can make a run in the playoffs because look, Straw's his biggest competition. He's got the Rams. Bomber's got the Bears. Dom's got the Saints. He's got the team advantage. And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that Woods makes a Super Bowl this cycle.
Wow.
Ooh.
I love it.
Wow. All right. I see what we're doing here. All right. We're taking some calculated shots, and then we're doing the 360 Mahomes no scope throw here. So I'll follow suit. I'm going to go the obvious one. I mean, we got to just say it right off the bat. It's got to be Strawbacks. I mean, he was in the Super Bowl at the Rams. He's got a unique style. He's got a nice passing game. He gets a better quarterback. He develops one. He gets some weapons there. Aaron Donald hangs around just long enough. I think he's not only a Super Bowl again player, like a multiple Super Bowl appearance, but he could win one. So I'm going to say Strawbacks. But hey, man, Matt went out on a limb. I'm going to go out on a limb too, and maybe this will make me look like a fool in 3 months. But I'm going to go Biz, man. Biz with the 49ers. I think Biz has exactly what he needs right now in that team being loaded, and he's starting to DM the right people about how to get better. He's not satisfied with just being a limited play caller, kind of running a bunch of RPOs, sweeps, and stretches. Even though that's where he is right now, he's starting to say, "Hey, how do I get better? What do I need to do? Where do I got to work on it?" And that's the kind of guy that takes the big jump, is the guy that's willing to admit, I'm not good enough right now. So what do I need to do? And those kind of guys are the ones that I'm all for. So I think Biz with that team, he might be the next big thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you my best Woods impersonation and give you a whoa there because that was a big one for me. Next big thing to me is, can this guy make a Super Bowl this cycle? And I'm gonna say this: this guy is married, but this guy has passion. I got the meats. Will make a Super Bowl this cycle, and he will keep it close. I'm not saying he's gonna win it because I know I'm not gonna lose to him, but if he plays the right guy, like a Dan or QP, he could win that game. And I'm gonna say Meats has a better chance to be a next big thing over a Bean, over a Clinky. Because look at the conference. Look at the conference. I mean, in the AFC, they got to beat a Dan, they got to beat a Prime, they got to beat a QP. In the NFC, Bomber looks to be working his way back. D Muse, I know he made the NFC Championship game, but I think he's down still this cycle. Straw Blacks, we'll see. I think Meats could maybe make a few Super Bowls this cycle.
Wow, man. Woods, Biz, and Meats. Who in the right mind would have thought those would have been the next three, man? I like it. I like it.
Hey guys,
Yeah, if they patch a pass rush in, watch out for Meats because Michael Parsons with edge threat's going to just destroy the world.
yep.
But going back to Biz, you know who Biz reminds me of? He reminds me of a guy in Madden 21 who came into the league with the New England Patriots and couldn't
Wow.
pass with a lick. Couldn't pass. And I mean, you'd think his monitor was off when he was throwing the ball, but he could run and he could play defense. And that person was me. And Biz reminds me of me. He can't pass. I mean, he had 90 yards passing versus me, 3 picks. I mean, it was atrocious. But he beat me because he could run the ball, which you can do in this game, and he played defense, which you can do with that Niners team. I like that pick because that team, when they get healthy, I think he's got like Warner, Bosa, CMC all hurt. But when they come back, this game plays right into the hands of someone like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Hey, time to share the love, fellas. Who are you sharing your love on?
Hey, yeah, I got to go to my boy Coop last night, man. What a big game playing against Prime Time. Prime running his mouth about a new layout and how it's the best in the world and how he's throwing up his face up there after every touchdown. Well, you know what? Coop got laughed at with his game calling against Q. Man, he was anything but what he was before. He was clutch. He stepped up in the end of the game. He stepped up in overtime. Took it all the way down to the wire. Made the play when he needed to. Hit the big field goal. Coop, man, go and run your mouth. Shoot your glory. Tell everybody about how awesome you are, man, because you had a big win last night. Congratulations, man. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, I wish I'd have known Coop was going to do that because I played him the advance before and I'd have beat the brakes off of him even more if I knew he was going to beat Prime. But
Yes.
I'm going to go a couple of different ways here. I'm going to start with I think RD. I mean, this guy's kind of flying under the radar, and he's probably going to be mad because I just brought him up, and I'm going to bring him up in a second too. He's 5-0 with the Houston Texans, guys. He didn't get his dev bump on Stroud. He doesn't get training devs. I don't think he lucked into some super draft or end of season dev bumps, and he's 5-0. And I mean, he's RD. He's a Simbardi winner. Don't sleep on this guy. Right now, he's one of 3 undefeated teams in the AFC. I'm also going to go with Bomber. I think Bomber has turned that Bears team, as Bomber does, into an actually really. If we were drafting today with the rosters that we have, I think the Bears are a top 5 team that you would want to have. The youth and the dev, they're just absolutely. They're incredible. And then my biggest one is I want to show the love to Dan. If you're listening, hopefully you've been listening this whole time, not muting when Dan talks. He sounds a little chipper, right? A little pep in his step. Well, that wasn't the case about 10 days ago. Little sulky, little moody, little sad. I want to take a break from Madden, but he's found a pip in his step, and it's nice to have Dan back. Don't you think, Prime?
Yeah, and I would like to share part of the love to myself for that. Sometimes you ever watch TV and they let the kid get a touchdown, or they let the guy who really has never done anything. They let him make the free throw somehow. They put a magnet in their hoop or something. And that was kind of the case for me when I played Dan. He was really sad, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be 0-5." I said, "You know what, Dan? I'm gonna let you have this win." And next thing I know, he's back practicing. He's got a smile back. He's chatting. He says he's finds new formation. He's out up till midnight looking at plays again. I'm glad to see Dan back myself, actually.
Listen. Okay, we all got personal lives. We all got things going on. I had some things going on. Things have happened, and that happens. I lose my rookie quarterback after making big moves and all these changes, and give up on some players. I was down. You're right. I was no doubt about it. I was in a dark little Madden circle for about 24 hours. And then, hey, you just, you got to play the right guy at the right time. And hey, I did that. I played Rowe, who was simple and easy to win. So it was like a no brainer. And once I got that one win, I was like, hey, life is good. Everything's back to normal. Prime, just another person on the schedule. Win the game. Keep moving on. Things are good now.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I could help you, buddy. So for me, if I'm going to spread my love on somebody, I'm looking at, honestly, I'm looking at Doink. He's 4-1. He's got Ritter up to, what is he, X Factor now. He just had, a lot of people says he's not clutch. He just beat D-Muse in a close game by 3. And I watched him kind of fall apart the week prior. He threw like 3 interceptions in a row to lose to Clinky. It was just awful. But for him to bounce back, get a clutch win over D-Muse, I think that was in overtime. Hats off to Doink, man. The guy's winning games. So let's move on to the extra point here. Matt, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so I'm glad Dan's back, but he's not back in my top 5. At number 5, I do have the guy you just talked about, Doink. 4-1. I think he's playing good football. Obviously, he got the big dev bump. I think day 1 the franchise was made, or that we joined it. He got Ritter to superstar, which changes your whole outlook, right? But he's playing good ball, and he's got he's got Pitts, and he's got Drake London to superstar. He's got Bijan to X Factor. He gets a defense built around that team, and he's going to be a force. At number 4, I've got Bean. Hey, 4-0 and 1. He's got a tie, which for some reason Bean loves ties. But he tied Biz, who we just kind of talked about as being the next big thing, and I don't disagree with that at all. So Bean, nice job with them Pats, and he's going to win that division I think he might already have it clinched. Yeah, I just looked. He does have it clinched. So we're 5 games in. He's already won the division. At number 3, I've got Bomber. Hey, 5-0. He just beat the brakes off of Biz. He beat me. Bomber's playing really solid football, and he can win in a variety of different ways. He can run, he can pass, he can beat you with defense. He's a good player, and if you have to go to Chicago and it's snowing, and you don't want to be in those games against Bomber. At number 2, I've got RD. I know I just kind of talked about him, and I said I'd mention him again, but hey, how's this guy flying under the radar? He's won a Simbardi before. He's one of the better Madden players I've ever played with, only because, I've played with him for the better part of a decade. He's always been a really good player. He's got probably the worst team in the game, maybe minus the Rams, and he's doing a really good job. He didn't really get any big dev bumps that are really pushing him over the top either. So RD, pay attention to him. I'm sure you are, Prime, but everybody else should be too. And then at number 1, I've got QP. And honestly, you see a 6-0 QP with the Chargers, and you think, man, this guy is the juggernaut. But you watch his games, and he's not the same guy. He's just, when he commentates, it just feels like he's deflated, and he doesn't have the offensive firepower that you're used to with a QP, especially when he has a guy like Herbert. I'm a little bit worried about QP. I think he's going to lose Keenan Allen, but you know what? At this point, he's 6-0, and maybe he's back, but I don't know how to feel about QP. He's my number 1, but maybe the least assuring number 1 I've ever had.
Yeah, that's a good list. I agree with the list, actually.
Matt, how many years you've been doing this? What, you've been doing Total Access 1.5 to 2 years?
I think about a year, probably.
Okay. Have you ever had a top 5 wherever Prime and I are not on the top 5?
I'd have to go digging through the trash can, but I don't think so.
Wow. What a start to season 2, huh?
Yeah, I just, it makes for a good narrative of our Dan and Prime both washed. What a shame. What a shame.
Maybe next week.
Yeah. Hey guys, we appreciate you watching our show. One more bold claim I want to make before we wrap up. Double Rice No Bean, if you're still listening, you've made comments for the last several weeks. A lot of them. Dating back to last season. I've watched all of them. I will say this. Not one tight end, not one running back will get a target against you, and I will beat you by 10 points at least. That's SML Total Access. See you around.